Hare Krishna, Ji Ganpati Ram, Hare Krishna, dear devotees, Yasha Prabhupada. Let's start with Mangalacharan. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha Namaham Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashat Desha Tarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavranda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Okay, anybody would like to recite our prayers? Shri Govinda Stotram. We are reciting verses 41 to 50 this week.
I can, Prabhuji.
Jai. Yes, Shri Mataji. Yeah.
Yeah. Atyantika Vyadhiharam Jananam. Prabhuji, can you recite first verse? I forgot the tune.
Yeah, sure. Atyantika Vyadhiharam Jananam
Chikitsakam Vedo Vido Vadanti Samsaratapatrayana Sabijam Govinda Damodar Madhaveti Tatagnyakachati Ramachandre Salakshmaneranyachaye Sachite Chakrandaramasi Nijajanitri Govinda Damodar Madhaveti Ekakini Dandakakananantad Saniyamana Dashakandarena Sita Tadakroshadhananyanatha Govinda Damodar Madhaveti Prasida Vishnu Raghuvam Vamsanatha Sura Suranam Sukhaduka Heto Rurodashita Tu Samudra Madhye Govinda Damodar Madhaveti Antarjali Grihita Pado Vishri Vishrishta Viklishta Samasta Bandhu Tada Gajendro Nitaram Jagad Govinda Damodar Madhaveti.
You missed 44, Mataji.
Oh, yeah. Ramadviyukta Janakatmajasa Vichintayanti Ridhiram Rurodasita Raghunath Pahi Govinda Damodar Madhaveti Hamsadvaja Sankhayuto Dadarsha Putram Katahe Prapatannam Enam Punyani Namani Hare Japantam Govinda Damodar Madhaveti Durvasa Vakyamupetya Krishna Saja Bravit Kananavashinisham Anta Pravishtam Manasa Juhava Govinda Damodar Madhaveti Teya Sada Yogibhir Aprameya Chintaharas Chintiti Parijataha Kasturika Kalpitanila Govinda Damodar Madhaveti. ध्येहे सदा योगिभिरप्रमेय चिन्ताहरश्चिन्तितपारिजात कस्तूरिकाकल्पितनीलवर्णो गोविन्ददामोदरमाधवेति संसारे कूपे पतितोऽत्यगाधे मोहान्धपूर्णे विषयाभितप्ते करावलम्बं मम देहि विष्णु गोविन्ददामोदरमाधवेति 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 हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे हरे Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Shri Mataji. Very nice.
Sorry for the
No, that's okay. That's good. And you sang 47 or 49 two times. So that's good. You made up for it.
okay. Right thing.
Yes, you were fully absorbed. I could see that. Okay. Very nice. Thank you so much. All right. Who would like to read the translations?
I can read, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Shamakarna Mataji. Yes.
Hare Krishna. The knowers of the Vedas say that this is the cure all of the worst diseases of mankind, and that this is the seed of the destruction of the threefold miseries of material existence, Govinda, Damodara, Madhava. Upon Ramachandra's going into the forest due to his father's order, along with Lakshmana and Sita, his mother cried, "O Govinda, Damodara, Madhava." Left there alone, Sita was carried out of the forest by the 10-headed Ravana. At that time, accepting no other lord, Sita cried, "O Govinda, Damodara, Madhava." Separated from Rama, the daughter of King Janaka was completely anxious, and with the form of Rama within her heart, she cried, "O Raghunatha, protect me, O Govinda, Damodara, Madhava." O Lord Vishnu, be gracious, Lord of the Raghu clan, cause of the happiness and distress of gods and demons alike, O Govinda, Damodara, Madhava. Thus Sita cried as she was being carried over the middle of the ocean. Caught by his foot and pulled into the water, Gajendra, his friends, all harassed and frightened away, then called out incessantly, "Govinda, Damodara, Madhava." Along with his priest, Sankhayuta, King Hamsadvaja saw his son Sudhanva falling into a vat, but the boy was chanting the transcendental names of Hari, Govinda, Damodara, and Madhava. Accepting Durvasa Muni's request that she feed his many disciples, though she hadn't the means, Draupadi mentally called out to the Lord from within her heart, the Lord of forest dwellers. She said, "Govinda, Damodara, Madhava." He is always meditated upon the yogis as being inscrutable. He is the remover of all anxieties and is the desired tree of all that is desired. His bluish complexion is as attractive as Kasturika, Govinda, Damodara, Madhava. I am fallen into the deep, dark well of material life, which is full of illusion and blind ignorance, and I am tormented by sensual existence. O my Lord, Vishnu, Govinda, Damodara, Madhava, please grant me your supporting hand to uplift me. Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, Dandavad Pranams.
Mataji, thank you so much. Shri Govinda Damodar Stotram ki jai, Shri Bilomangal Thakur ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Yes, as all these devotees are chanting the holy names and praying to the Lord, similarly we see now, getting back to Prabhupada Lilamrit, all the new devotees who are joining are looking up to Srila Prabhupada. They don't know who Krishna is, who the Lord is, what the real truth is, but they know they have full faith in Swamiji. And Swamiji is bringing them to the Lord. So similarly, as these devotees are singing these prayers, calling out to the Lord, these wonderful devotees in California are looking up to Swamiji, because for them he is no less than Krishna, because he is the representative of the Lord and he is representing Krishna for them. And yesterday we saw Prabhupada is giving initiations to many of the devotees who have just joined, even within as short as 2 weeks. So yeah, now we have Shyam Sundar Prabhu and Malati Mataji initiated, Yamuna Mataji and Gaura Sundar Prabhu, and many more, right? So yeah, this new other couple is coming, and Govinda Dasi and Govinda Dasi Mataji, and now we have Dayananda and Nandarani. So those are the two latest initiates, and Prabhupada is now teaching Nandarani Mataji how to cook for her wedding feast. Now her wedding is going to happen, and yesterday we saw Prabhupada is teaching her and other Matajis on the weekend cooking classes. But now specifically on this day, she comes dressed in her jeans, best jeans and sweatshirt. Prabhupada asks her to clean the pot to boil milk, and she has to go and remove all the black dirt from the bottom of the pot. And finally, after trying 2 times, 3 times, almost it's midday. And finally, when she brings the pot, Prabhupada's eyes sparkle and she says, "Oh, this is perfect." So that is service, right? So she is doing service and Prabhupada is engaging in the service. And we'll see. So they were starting to make gulab jamun yesterday. Oh, sorry, not gulab jamun, rasgulla. I'm still thinking of ISKCON bullets, rasgullas. So we'll continue from here. Anybody would like to read today? Then Swamiji showed me to boil. Okay, I will continue then. All right, so then Swamiji showed me how to boil the balls of curd in sugar water. Malati, Janaki, and I were cooking in the kitchen, and Swamiji was singing. At one point, Swamiji stopped singing and asked me, "Do you know what your name means?" I couldn't even remember what my name was. He had told me at initiation. But because none of us used our devotee names, I couldn't remember what mine was. I said, "No, Swamiji, what does my name mean?" He said, "It means you are the mother of Krishna." And he laughed loudly and went back to stirring the rasgullas. I couldn't understand who Krishna was, who in the world his mother would be, or how I was in any way related to her. But I was satisfied that Swamiji felt that I was somebody worth being. I finished cooking that afternoon about 4 o'clock, and then I went home to get dressed for the wedding. Although I had never worn anything but old dresses and jeans, Swamiji had suggested to the other ladies that they find a way to put me into a sari for the wedding. So we bought a piece of silk to use for a sari. I went to Malati's house. She was going to try to help me put it on. I couldn't keep it on, so she had to sew it on me. Then they decorated me with flowers and took me to Swamiji and showed him. He was very happy. He said, "This is the way our women should always look. No more jeans and dresses. They should always wear saris." Actually, I looked a fright. I kept stumbling, and they had to sew the cloth on me. But Swamiji thought it was wonderful. The cloth was all one color. So Swamiji said, "Next time you should buy cloth that has a little border on the bottom. So it is 2 colors. I like 2 colors better." When we went downstairs to the wedding, Swamiji met my relatives. He spoke to them very politely. My mother cried a lot during the ceremony. I was very satisfied that she had been blessed by meeting Swamiji. Steve Bollard, age 20, born and raised in New York and now living the hippie life in San Francisco, had read in the Oracle about Swami Bhaktivedanta's coming to San Francisco. The idea of meeting an Indian Swami had interested him, and responding to a notice he had seen posted on Haight Street, he had gone along with Carolyn Gold, the woman he was living with, to the airport to meet Swami Bhaktivedanta. He and Carolyn had both gotten a blissful lift by chanting Hare Krishna and seeing Prabhupada, and they began regularly attending the lectures and kirtans at the temple. Steve decided he wanted to become like the Swami, so he and Carolyn went together to see Prabhupada and request initiation. Speaking privately with Prabhupada in his room, they discussed obedience to the spiritual master and becoming vegetarian. When Prabhupada told them that they should either stop living together or get married, they said they would like to get married. An initiation date was set. Prabhupada asked Steve to shave his long hair and beard. "Why do you want me to shave my head?" Steve protested. "Krishna had long hair, Ram had long hair, Lord Chaitanya had long hair, and Christ had long hair. Why should I shave my head?" Prabhupada smiled and replied, because now you are following me. There was a print on the wall of Surdas, a Vaishnav. You should shave your head like that, Prabhupada said, pointing to Surdas. I don't think I'm ready to do that yet, Steve said. All right, you are still a young man. There is still time. But at least you should shave your face clean and cut your hair like a man. On the morning of initiation, Steve shaved off his beard and cut his hair around his ears so that it was short in front but long in the back. How is this? He asked. You should cut the back also, Prabhupada replied. Steve agreed. To Steve, Prabhupada gave the name Subala and to Carolyn the name Krishna Devi. A few days later, he performed their wedding. Since each ceremony was another occasion for kirtan and prasadam distribution, onlookers became attracted, and as the spiritual names and married couples increased with each ceremony, Prabhupada's spiritual family grew. The harmonious atmosphere was like that of a small, loving family, and Prabhupada dealt with his disciples intimately, without the formalities of an institution or hierarchy. Disciples would approach him for various reasons, entering the little apartment to be alone with him as he sat on a mat before his makeshift desk in the morning sunlight. With men like Mukunda, Gurudas, and Shyam Sundar, Swamiji was a friend. With Janaki and Govindadasi, he was sometimes ready to be chided, almost like their naughty son, or he would be their grandfatherly teacher of cooking, the enforcer of the rules of kitchen cleanliness. And to all of them, he was the unfathomable pure devotee of Lord Krishna, who knew the conclusions of all the Vedic scriptures, and he knew beyond all doubts the truth of transmigration. He could answer all questions. He could lead them beyond material life, beyond Haight Ashbury, Hippodrome, and into the spiritual world with Krishna. It was 7 p.m. Srila Prabhupada entered the temple dressed in a saffron dhoti, an old turtleneck jersey under a cardigan sweater, and a chadar around his shoulders. Walking to the dais in the rear of the room, he took his seat. The dais, a cushion atop a redwood plank 2 feet off the floor, was supported between two redwood columns. In front of the dais stood a cloth covered lectern with a bucket of cut flowers on either side. Covering the wall behind the dais was a typical Indian madras, with Haridas's crude painting of Lord Chaitanya and Kirtan hanging against it. Srila Prabhupada picked up his kartals, wrapped the cloth straps around his forefingers, and looked out at his young followers sitting cross-legged on the burgundy rug. The men were bearded, and almost everyone wore long hair, beads, exotic clothing, and trinkets. The bulbs hanging from the ceiling diffused their light through Japanese paper lanterns, and Navajo god-eyes symbols dangled from strings. Prabhupada began the ringing 1, 2, 3 rhythm, and Shyam began pumping the harmonium. Although the harmonium was a simple instrument, a miniature piano keyboard to be played with the right hand and a bellows to be pumped with the left hand, no one in the Frederick Street storefront knew how to play it, so it became simply the drone. Another important kirtan instrument, the two-headed mridanga from India, was meant for intricate rhythmic accompaniments, but even Mukunda could play it only very simply, matching the 1, 2, 3 of Prabhupada's kartals. There were other instruments on hand, a kettle drum, pride of the temple, Hayagriva's old cornet, a few conch shells, and a horn Hayagriva had made by shell-shacking a piece of kelp he had found on the beach. Some guests had brought their own flutes, pipes, and bongos, but for now they left their instruments remain still and clapped to Prabhupada's rhythm as he sang the evening prayers. Prabhupada's Sanskrit hymn praised the Vaishnava spiritual masters. For each great devotee in the disciplic succession, he sang a specific prayer. First, he chanted the poetic description of the transcendental qualities of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. Then, Gaurakishore Das Babaji, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, one after another. One prayer described Srila Bhakti Siddhanta as the deliverer of the fallen souls, and another praised Gaurakishore Das Babaji as renunciation personified, always merged in the feeling of separation and intense love for Krishna. Srila Prabhupada sang of Lord Chaitanya, the golden complexioned Supreme Personality of Godhead, who distributed pure love of Krishna. And he sang of Lord Krishna, the ocean of mercy, the friend of the distressed, the source of creation. As Prabhupada became absorbed in the bhajan, his body trembled with ecstatic emotion. The group on the floor sat swaying from side to side, watching him, his eyes closed in meditation, his delicate, practiced fingers expertly playing the cymbals. They heard the heartfelt minor modes and tones of his voice, unlike anything they had heard before. Then he began the familiar mantra they had come to hear: Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. And immediately they joined him. The horns and drums sounded, and soon all the other instrument players joined in. Gradually, a few at a time, members of the audience rose to their feet and began to dance. Prabhupada's followers stood and began stepping from side to side as he had shown them, sometimes raising their hands in the air. Others moved as they pleased, occasionally opening his eyes and glancing around. Prabhupada sat firmly, chanting, though his head and body were trembling. After 20 minutes, many of the young dancers were leaping, jumping, and perspiring as Prabhupada continued to sing, leading the dancers by the beat of his kartals. His eyes were closed, yet he controlled the entire wild congregation, playing his kartals loudly. The chanting and dancing continued, and Prabhupada approved. The kirtana of these hippies was different from the chanting of the Indian Brahmanas, but Prabhupada didn't mind. His standard was devotion. In his Radhakrishna temple, whatever he accepted, Krishna accepted. This was his offering to Krishna through his spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Prabhupada was absolutely confident, even if his young devotees didn't know how to play the harmonium keyboard or the mridanga, even if they didn't know the congregational kirtan should be done not in constant unison as they were doing, but responsively, and even if they didn't know how to honor the Guru, still, because they were chanting and dancing, he encouraged them and nodded to them. Yes, wild elements were there, of course, people whose minds and intentions were far away in some chemically induced fantasy. Yet the mood was dominated by Srila Prabhupada's followers, who danced with arms upraised and watched their leader carefully. Although in many ways they were still like hippies, they were Swamiji's disciples, and they wanted to please him and follow his instructions. They wanted to attain Krishna consciousness. For all the varied punctuation of horns and timpani, the Kirtana remained sweet. Hayagriva even played his cornet in tune, and only during every other mantra. Srila Prabhupada knew that some aspects of the Kirtan were wrong or below standard, but he accepted the offering, and not awkwardly, but lovingly. He simply wanted these American boys and girls to chant. That they dressed irregularly, jumped too savagely, or had the wrong philosophy did not over concern him. These boys and girls were chanting Hare Krishna, so at least for the present they were pure. The hippies knew that too, and they loved it. Just as in Janaki's dream, Srila Prabhupada's pleasure was to see the whole world engaged in Kirtan. Somehow or other, he would say, people should be engaged in Krishna consciousness. And this was the instruction of Lord Chaitanya's chief follower, Srila Rupa Goswami, who had written, Tasmat kenapyo upayena mana Krishne niveshayet. Somehow or other, fix the mind on Krishna. The rules and regulations can come later. Inherent in this attitude of Srila Prabhupada's and Srila Rupa Goswami's was a strong conviction about the purifying force of the holy name. If engaged in chanting Hare Krishna, even the most fallen person could gradually become a saintly devotee. Srila Prabhupada would often quote a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam affirming that persons addicted to sinful acts should be purified or could be purified by taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord. He knew that every Haight Ashbury hippie was eligible to receive the mercy of the holy name, and he saw it as his duty to his spiritual master to distribute the gift of Krishna consciousness freely, rejecting no one. Yet, while living amongst these Malechas, he required a certain standard of behavior, and he was adamant about preserving the purity of his Krishna consciousness society. For example, if he were going to distribute free food to the public, it could not be ordinary food, but must be prasadam, food offered to Krishna. Feeding hungry people was futile unless they were getting prasadam, and the chance of liberation from birth and death. And although in the Kirtanas he allowed openness and free expression and welcomed the wildest participation, the transcendental sound of the holy name had to dominate. He never allowed the Kirtana to degenerate into mere beating on drums or chanting of any old words. Nor could anyone in the group become so crazy that others wouldn't be able to hear or take part in the congregational chanting. In his attempts to somehow or other get these young people chanting Hare Krishna, Prabhupada instinctively knew what to allow and what not to allow. He was the master, and his new disciples followed him when he permitted an egoistic, sensual dancer to jump around the temple, or a drugged madman to argue with him in a question and answer period. When a person was too disruptive, Prabhupada was not afraid to stop him, but stopping was rare. The main thing was giving. The Kirtana lasted more than an hour as the chanters joined hands and danced around the room and incense poured out the front door. The morning and the evening Kirtanas had already made the Radhakrishna temple popular in Haight Ashbury, but when the devotees began serving a daily free lunch, the temple became an integral part of the community. Prabhupada told his disciples simply to cook and distribute prasadam. That would be their only activity during the day. In the morning, they would cook, and at noon, they would feed everyone who came, sometimes 150 to 200 rupees from the streets of Haight Ashbury. Before the morning kirtan, the girls would put oatmeal on the stove, and by breakfast, there would be a room full of hippies, most of whom had been up all night. The cereal and fruit was for some the first solid food in days. But the main program was the lunch. Malati would go out and shop, getting donations whenever possible for whole wheat flour, garbanzo flour, split peas, rice, and whatever vegetables were cheap for free. Potatoes, carrots, turnips, rutabagas, beets. Then every day the cooks would prepare spiced mashed potatoes, buttered chapati, split pea dal, and a vegetable dish for 200 people. The lunch program was possible because many merchants were willing to donate to the recognized cause of feeding hippies. Okay, so we'll pause here. Yes, so here we are seeing the Sunday love feast. Prabhupada has now started every day, every day love feast. Yes, and as a true guru and spiritual teacher, he knows when to give love and when to give correction. And yeah, depending on the mood of the devotees who are coming in, he's allowing them to just engage in chanting the Mahamantra because he, as a realized soul, knows the power and the potency and the purity of the Mahamantra. That if somebody just chants it, then they will be purified. So Prabhupada is again as the merciful and compassionate spiritual master. He is willing to go the extra mile to give this mercy to everybody and anyone and everybody who was coming there. And yeah, it is nice to see all these other initiated disciples so eagerly and sincerely following him, following his mood. When he was chanting, they were eagerly watching him, watching his every step, every act, and sincerely trying to get the mood that he was absorbed in, and also practically serving him. Like we see here, Malati Mataji is going out and buying vegetables, getting donations, and they're all cooking in the morning breakfast, feeding all these hippies who had not eaten any solid food for many days, and then preparing lunch. So how much of invaluable service they all did to Srila Prabhupada in those early days, and just by following their spiritual master's instructions, and by serving him, they were actually offering their love to Krishna through their spiritual master, and that is what Krishna likes. He doesn't like direct service to him. He likes when devotees serve his pure devotees. And Srila Prabhupada being served here by these disciples is pleasing Krishna more and more. And we can see the result of what happens right now, 50, 60 years down the road. They are all so much absorbed in Srila Prabhupada's mood and instructions, even to date, after 5 decades of his passing, that now they are the kind of the torch bearers and the shining beacons of light for all of us in the moment. So similarly, this is the parampara, this is the disciplic succession. And yes, this is what will continue for the next 10,000 years. So we should just take inspiration from them and make our lives perfect, just as they made their lives perfect. Hare Krishna. Okay, anybody else would like to share anything from today's reading? No other comments? This is our opportunity to share what we have learned so far, what we have liked, any realizations that come to our minds as we practice bhakti. This is
Yeah, bhakti, both should go parallel, Prabhuji. As you mentioned, love and correction. So only correction, then devotees or in our family also the children can divert. But if we'll apply this formula, love and correction, it will work everywhere, in family or in a spiritual platform or devotional, practice.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you. Yes, very nice. Yeah, it was Prabhupada's love, love and care and correction, loving care, loving connection. So everything that he did, they just felt, he was like their father. He was like their friend. Sometimes he was also like their son, like Krishna is like we were saying, just like Krishna loves to engage in all these different rasas, transcendental rasas with his devotees. Sometimes he will like to be the son of his parents, Nandamaya and Yashoda Maya and Nanda Baba. And sometimes he would like to be friends with the Gopas, and sometimes he would like to be like the guru, the master. Right. So similarly, Prabhupada here is enjoying all the different rasas with his with his disciples. Sometimes he's loving them, he's correcting them, he's also becoming their naughty son sometimes. So that's so nice. Yes, thank you, Prabhu. Okay, anybody else would like to say something?
Yes, Prabhu, just, very little realization when Prabhupada, mentions in the beginning about the sari, So just like my personal realization is, as a woman, I really feel comfortable in those clothes, rather than wearing those westernized clothes, Sometimes I realize, why am I even wearing this, but I haven't reached to that point where I can wear it every day. It's just the image consciousness is so built in right now that it's difficult to overcome. But yeah, but I really agree to that whenever I think most of the women would, and, not hurting anybody's sentiments, but it just feels comfortable and you just feel good in that.
In sari, you say?
I don't wear sari, but like in general, like the Indian, kind
Indian
of clothes,
clothes,
which
yeah.
which
Yeah. How again? See, like how lovingly they were just accepting whatever he was saying. So yeah, especially of course, marriage is a sacred ceremony, and they were like Malati Mataji. I'm sure she may have just learned once or twice, but now she is teaching. Just like sometimes here at center, I remember, when we went to Sadhu Sangha a few years ago, and also some other temple visits, we will be asked by somebody, senior to or guide some of the newcomers to wear dhoti, for example. So it'll be fun, So those memories are there in my mind, teaching somebody to wear dhoti. I can relate to what Malati Mataji may be going through. Like she was saying, it was this this thing was falling off because it was just a piece of cloth, they had made into a sari, silk cloth. But but Prabhupada says that it will be good next time. This is nice, but next time you can bring some with two colors, right? So like Balaram and Krishna, they are two different colors, or Radharani and Krishna. So one is blue, one is golden. So yes, but yeah, it gives a different. It gives a like it's like our external covering and our internal soul, right? So we have when we put ourselves into Vaishnava attire, it is already like our mind is soaking in the spirit of the spiritual world. Just like Janaki Mataji was saying, we were in her dream. They were all in a different world in the spiritual sky on a different planet. Everybody from Earth had come. So that is the attire of the spiritual world, Vaishnav attire of dhoti and sari. And when we put ourselves in, we are already like taking our spaceship to the spiritual world, putting ourselves there. So thank you.
Yeah, exactly. It's not about, I used to think like that, like how does clothes matter, whenever you go, it's just your heart which matters. But then, it slowly, I think you realize that once your outer, covering is like that, it just builds, as you said, it just builds your even like the soul, mentally, you just feel like that. So, yeah, definitely.
It just feels natural sometimes when you now that we're here.
Yes,
It feels
yes,
natural that you
yes.
I feel more comfortable in dhoti than in jeans.
Jeans, yeah.
Okay. It's also very nice ventilated. So you can get it very comfortable and instead of jeans. So anyway. Jai Shri Prabhupada for giving us this wonderful family and the process of bhakti that we can follow so lovingly and feel natural joy by practicing this. So, okay, so we'll conclude here. Thank you so much for your kind participation and sharing your reflections and thoughts. That is what makes us all learn from each other, and it adds more rasa into our reading. So thank you for that rasaful reading and realizations. Hare Krishna. वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. अनंत कोटि वैष्णवृंद की जय. जगद्गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे. हरि हरि बोल. हरे कृष्णा.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.